welcome back to Fertile. I'm Marigold, and as always, this is your space to uncomplicate your health, challenge conventional dogma, and honor the sacred biology that shapes you. So let's get into today's conversation. So today I want to talk through with you historical hair care, something that I have been sort of dabbling in over the last couple of years, but took it very seriously this year. I feel like I fully stepped into a bit more of a Victorian era, living a lot by candlelight and wearing Victorian gowns and just really stepping into my authenticity. And along with that, I've been refining, removing anything that has been disruptive to my hormones over the years. And I've pretty much got there now. I would say majority of the things in my home are natural. And the last kind of bits that I'm just sort of getting to grips with are the laundry. I still struggle a little bit. I mean, I mostly use natural, but sometimes a bit of whitener is necessary for all my white clothes. But that's something I'm also researching and getting into. But the other thing is historical hair care. And I have been battling with my hair on and off for 10 years. I looked back at a photo of myself from when it was about 10 years ago now. My hair was so gorgeous and thick and long and curly. And I was like, where is that hair? As we do. And I would say my hair has got back to such a good place in the last year. I have really made such a conscious effort, and it's actually been less is more. I feel like before I spent so long trying to find the right shampoo or the right conditioners and the right treatments, and I don't know why it took me so long to finally address that everything else in my world is pretty simple and natural. Don't overcomplicate things, but for some reason my hair care I had really overcomplicated, and it's okay, we're always learning, aren't we? So I would say my hair, like with most women who go through PCOS, or now called PMOS, polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome, or polycystic ovarian syndrome, but we've changed the name now because we know that it's not always to do with ovarian cysts. So if you're dealing with hair loss as part of this condition, which most women do, along with irregular cycles and acne, weight issues, instability there, and blood sugar issues. So hair loss is quite common. Now, it does show up quite differently in a lot of women. Sometimes it's alopecia and you get quite a lot of hair loss overall, or hair thinning. Other times that I've seen, especially with my own hair, I had quite receding hairline. So just along the sides of my forehead. And for other people, they probably wouldn't have noticed, but when you know it's your hair and you're used to a type of thickness, and especially you can kind of cover it if you wear your hair down. But I found it something I really didn't like, and I was always wondering what's going on here. And yeah, I eventually found out it was part of PCOS and connected to the high androgens, high testosterone. So as I healed through my PCOS journey over the last however many years, I haven't had any symptoms of PCOS for about 8 years, I think now. So I would say that I am healed from PCOS personally. I don't feel it's something I even relate with anymore. But the hair journey has been a consistent thing, because we know that it's not always just to do with hormones. It can be stress levels, it can be nutrition. Within Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, they say your hair is an extension of your nervous system. So my hair was in pretty good shape for a few years, especially when I'd gone through the kind of process of healing PCOS. It was starting to grow back. I was getting lots of wispy baby hair, and I was like, yes, the regrowth is here. But when I had my son, it kind of all started to deteriorate again. And I think this is very common for a lot of mamas postpartum, because you're nourishing your baby. I breastfed my son till he was about 22 months. And again, in Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, they recommend to about 18 months to 2 years. Otherwise, you start depleting your vital kind of core nutrients. And I was already feeling quite there at about 18 months. And then I tried to extend it, because I think there was this part of me that felt like I should do it for longer. I always felt like I was going to be the mama that breastfed her baby till they were like at least 3 or 4. But your biology and just has its own decisions that arise. So for me, it was just so intuitive that I hit a point where I was like, okay, there's an aversion now. I cannot do this anymore. I don't have any stores. My breasts just weren't filling up with milk anymore. And it was time to say goodbye on that journey. So I'll leave the breastfeeding journey to a whole other episode, because I don't want to go down a rabbit hole there, but just wanted to touch on that being a really big part of the hair loss. the depletion. And then on top of that, being a solo mama and the lack of sleep that most mothers face, parents as well. My son didn't really sleep until he was about 2. I mean, he slept, but he loved to sleep in the day. And when people say to you, oh, just sleep when baby sleeps. And it's like, yeah, it's not that easy to just suddenly switch off for 6 hours in the day when they're up every hour at night. So I was quite burnt out and doing everything on my own. My hair definitely showed for it. And it definitely knocked my confidence because I've always been someone with quite thick, curly, wavy hair. And it went very thin, very straight. And I just felt like not myself anymore. So if you're battling with hair loss, I'm really here with you. I know how it can really shape your identity. And there's a part of you that feels like it's just hair, it's fine, it will grow back. And then there's this other part of you that feels that this is a big part of, who you are. And so today, I'm going to talk through with you what I've been doing, and it has been incredible. And it's very simple. You're likely going to find these ingredients in your kitchen. You're not going to be spending loads of money. It's really simple, and it has been a game changer. So yes, like I said, this is probably the last thing that I have kind of dabbled with. The laundry, but also my hair care. I feel like I just could never find a completely natural shampoo, and it was driving me mad. And there's no sponsorships in this podcast, but I generally landed on Living Libations and I loved it. I used the Calendula Comfort and it was beautiful and it worked for a time, but I still felt like I'm spending quite a lot of money on something that there's like an innate feeling that, do we need to wash our hair? There was this constant feeling of, I feel like we've been set up to do this thing to spend money when it could be simpler. And I do feel like that. I have that view on many areas of life, the same with diet, the same with exercise. I feel like there's this sort of, I step back sometimes and I feel like I'm looking at the globe, right? And I can see almost like a little, fairy godmother. And I'm looking at that we've just kind of been designed to just spend money. We've been designed to join memberships, right? And wash our hair and buy convenience food that actually, although it feels cheap, actually over time costs so much more money. And we don't know how to home grow anymore. There's all these things that would have actually been either free in terms of money, they would have cost more in time, but we've been sort of deprived of time. And so we just grab and buy without really putting too much thought into it. And we do a lot of what our friends are doing, what our family have been doing. And a lot of the time we don't have the space to think about it. And it only really hit me in the last I think it was last summer where I started to feel like I can't find a shampoo. I found one that I do like. It's a little bit pricey, but it's so worth it because the ingredients are incredible. Like if you want to try Living Libations, I would highly recommend. But I'm going to tell you how you can do it for really cheap. So I stumbled across someone on YouTube and I'm going to find it now. I want to find it and make sure I credit her because she's been brilliant before I carry on talking. Is Catherine. And she has a YouTube channel called Historical Haircare and she's got incredibly beautiful long hair. So you can find her videos. She's really cool. So I found her last year and she was talking a lot about how to grow your hair in the historical kind of Victorian way. And I loved everything she talked about. I felt like I really connected with a lot of what she said, but I was still not quite ready to dive into all of it. And I still continued to buy shampoos and things. It wasn't until the beginning of this year, I came back from winter travels and I decided, okay, I've run out of everything. I'm just going to not wash my hair anymore and see what happens. I've done the whole no poo, they call it no shampoo, no poo method before, and my hair was just literally a grease ball. But when I discovered these videos from Catherine and learned about egg washing, it was the complete game changer. But the first time I heard it, I was like, eggs? Really? There's absolutely no way that I'm going to be putting eggs in my hair. It would stink, it will be all gunky, and I just thought, that's so weird. But I thought, you can't really knock it until you try it, can you? Like, how can you knock something until you try it? And so she was talking about how it completely changed her hair. And I experimented. So I was reading other blogs as well. And then I saw other people on Instagram mentioning that they also wash their hair with eggs. And I was like, oh, algorithm has heard me here. So I just suddenly started getting lots of people sharing about egg washing. So yeah, I started in February, March time. And it was insane. So I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it, how to start, and things to just be aware of. And at the moment, I'm literally using on my hair 3 ingredients mostly that you can find in your kitchen cupboard. Actually 4. The other one's not that regular. That's why I don't say it. But eggs, literally eggs. For my hair, I use 2 eggs and then apple cider vinegar, olive oil, and then the 4th one, which I use occasionally, is cornstarch as a dry shampoo. So those are the things you need, those 3 or 4 things, depending on, probably 4 really, realistically, that you're going to use for your hair. So now the first thing you need to know about eggs, when you first start doing it, this is what I did. I did a lot of research. I read lots of blogs and I read about lots of different women's experience with the egg washing. I also started watching different series and period dramas, and actually saw them washing their hair with eggs as well, and how they just never washed their hair and they never bathed. And I dug even deeper and I read a blog post that was talking about you should treat every single strand on your head as gold, and your hair is like a cat and it doesn't like water. And I was like, oh my God, there is so much that I never knew. There's also so much to know about brushing as well. So we'll talk about brushing after this, but I really want to focus on, the washing aspect to start with, because that's really what changed my hair. So you're going to want to start first with egg white, because the whole egg with the egg yolk, it does have a smell, and egg white doesn't, which is really great to start as a transition. Egg white is also extremely cleansing, and with the egg yolk, it's nourishing as well. So when you're going through that beginning period where your hair is so used to shampoo that it might be getting a bit oily and greasy after a few days, you will want to be doing the egg white. So you can just, depending on what shampoos you've been using, I would probably recommend, if you're already on like standard shampoo, like Head and Shoulders, for example, you might want to go to a natural shampoo first, just to like let your hair gradually get used to that. And then you can go into egg washing. But I'll leave that up to you. That's your call. So I do 2 egg whites in a little bowl. My hair at the moment is just above my breast, and it is getting a lot thicker, so I do actually have more hair now. If your hair's quite thin, you might only need 1. And then I keep the yolk aside and use that in baking, or if we're making scrambled eggs, I just keep it in the fridge in a little jar. And I did that every 3 days or so, sometimes a bit longer if I didn't have work that week or whatever, and I could just have really oily hair and I didn't really care. I would also, in between all of this, I would plait it all the time so that you wouldn't really notice how oily it had got. I also got to a point where I didn't really care how oily it had got, and I was putting oil in the ends every day and doing lots of oil scalp massage. So when you wash with your eggs, you're going to just take a little scoop into your hands and apply it as if you are using shampoo. It is going to actually foam a little bit, not like a generic normal shampoo, but there is a little bit of foam in there. It's really high in protein, and this is the key to rebuilding your hair. So once you've done that, go around all of the roots. You don't need to do the ends at all, just the roots. Go all around the roots, put your head upside down, go all around the ears, everywhere, and use the whole mixture. And then you're going to want to rinse it out, but make sure you only use kind of what we call lukewarm water. Hot water, if it's way too hot, is going to kind of scramble the egg, and then you're going to have egg pieces in your hair. So don't do that. I haven't experienced this yet. I use kind of warmish water anyway. I don't really like using hot water in the shower. And I actually tend to do this when I am sitting in the bath, because I just love the kind of Victorian feel of sitting in a bath with candles and pouring a jug of water over my head. That's just how I do it. But you do you. Warm water. You're going to want to rinse this out thoroughly. Make sure that you've got all the egg out. It's actually not difficult to get it out. And then for your conditioner, you're going to make a little vinegar rinse. So I have a glass spray bottle. I do about 50% apple cider vinegar, 50% filtered water. Sometimes I might do a little bit less apple cider vinegar. I kind of just see how I'm feeling in terms of how vinegary it smells. Apple cider vinegar is not as strong as other vinegars, so for me, half and half's okay. Other people say about 30% apple cider vinegar, 70% filtered or spring water, and just put some essential oils in it. I like frankincense because that also helps with hair growth. Rosemary also helps with hair growth. I like a bit of lemon just because I like the smell. So you can make up a little potion here for yourself, and you're going to spray that all over your head as if it's a conditioner. Now, I leave that on for about 5 minutes so it can really soak into the hair, and just rinse that out as normal. So the vinegar is going to really condition the hair. It really deeply conditions, and it's also going to cover up any egg smell. You won't have any egg smell from just egg whites, really, though. It's just if you use the full egg yolk. And then just as a little end to my hair routine, I put a bit of olive oil on the ends, and that's it. Always on the ends, because the ends are always going to get dry and break because they are the furthest away from your scalp. A lot of people I speak to, and also myself, I was like, my hair just doesn't grow anymore. It gets to my breasts and it doesn't grow anymore. And then I realized that it was always growing. Of course, your hair is always growing, but it kept breaking off because I was never nourishing the ends. So you nourish the ends so they stop breaking and your hair grows longer. My hair, I cut a lot of it off a couple of months ago, and it's already grown probably 4 inches in that time. It's really fast. And I also have been using a really lovely oil by a brand called Hinu. Again, no sponsorship, just I really like them. Smells divine. It's got incredible hair growth oils and herbs in there. So you can check that out if that's something you're interested in. So that's literally the routine. Now, after about 2 months, I stopped doing only egg white because I could sense my hair was changing, and I only needed to wash it after about 2 weeks, which was incredible. I was like, okay, we've got to 2 weeks now. I don't really need to be worrying so much. So I switched to the full egg, not just egg yolk, egg white, egg yolk, the whole egg into a cup. And now, because I'm using quite large eggs at the moment from the farm, I actually only need about 1 to do my whole roots. It depends how long your hair is, how much you need to do, but personally I don't do the whole hair anyway. I just do the roots and it works perfectly. Now, with the full egg, there's a smell. And I hated this at the beginning, but there is a benefit to the yolk because it is deeply nourishing. And this is going to be one of the key parts of rebuilding your hair. You can only do egg white for so long before it starts to feel a bit too cleansed, because it is highly cleansing, and then you are going to want to start rebuilding. So I would highly recommend then doing the whole egg. Now, yes, there is a smell, but it only lasts that day, okay? And you can neutralize it a lot with the vinegar and putting the essential oils on. So I tend to wash it when I know I'm probably not going to be doing anything too social the next day. But to be honest, if I'm going to see friends, I'll just tell them they know I wash my hair with eggs anyway, and just be like, hey guys, probably smell a bit eggy, so what? And it's probably more me feeling a bit self-conscious about it, because most of them, they said they can't tell at all. It's, when it's your own hair, you can kind of get a little sense of it. So I've now got used to it and I don't care. We're now at about 4 months of doing this. And what I've noticed is I've got loads of regrowth at the front of my hair. It's thicker and I've got the curl back. So I haven't had the curl for so long. If you've been following me for a while, you might have seen me on Instagram, and there was a lot of thinning and straightness to my hair, and I've hated it. But the curl has been coming back, and I really put this down to the eggs. It's been really deeply nourishing, really has. There's some other tools I'm going to tell you about as well next, so bear with me. They've also been extremely beneficial. And the growth is actually, just to start with, what I noticed was a bit of regrowth, more thickness, more volume and more curl. And then the growth has been the last bit, because I think my hair was almost going out, creating more volume before it actually was creating more length. I don't actually know about the specific antigen, how the growth cycle is, but that's what I experienced. So I experienced more volume first, which I was very much happy about. And then now we're getting a lot of the length. So the tools. Now, there are a few tools that I found very essential here. So boar bristle brush, the bristles of a boar. So no nylon pins. Even the wooden pins are great, but they can be a little bit harsh and cause breakage. Boar bristle brush. I can't speak today. Brussels brush. Boar bristle brush is a bit of a tongue tie, is the brush that you'll find in a lot of period drama programs, the Victorian era. They use these brushes to disperse oils. They weren't for detangling. So you can use like your wooden hairbrush for detangling. I personally do finger detangling because I don't want to cause any breakage. I want to make sure it's, I don't want to lose any of my hair. So I have been using boar brush and brushing my hair every evening. It's become a beautiful ritual. I light my beeswax candle. I sit in my lovely white cotton nightgown and I just sit there. Either I'm listening to a podcast or I'm watching something. Sometimes I read a little bit, but to be honest, when I'm brushing my hair, my hands are kind of full and I will be brushing my hair. And it's such a beautiful ritual. It's really nourishing. And what that does is it spreads the oil from the roots to the ends. So you're nourishing the ends to prevent breakage. And you're also stopping the hair looking oily because you're moving that oil from that one specific area in your roots and spreading it. So I do it for about 30 minutes every evening and I love it. It's become a ritual. When I first heard about it, I was like, I don't have time for brushing my hair 30 minutes a day. And now I couldn't not do it. It's something that's become part of my routine and I love it. It's a little bit of my self-care. So then after I have done my boar bristle, I will then put some oil in the ends of my hair, plait it, use a silk scrunchie and go to bed. And I sleep with it in a plait. I cover all of the plait in oil. By the morning, it's all soaked up and my ends are much happier. On top of that, there's a new technique I've also just started called microneedling. And it's called 7-star needle tapping because it's called 7-star because it's got 7 pins. This is a Chinese medicine ancient tool online. I've seen people say like it's a hair hack, but it's really an ancient tool. And it's microneedling. So what you do is you just tap gently all over your scalp. It doesn't hurt. It's got tiny little needles that tap into your skull. And what that does is it actually stimulates new hair growth because your body's going, oh, what's that? I need to send blood there. There's a little cut. I need to send blood there. So it's going to start promoting blood circulation to the area, meaning better hair growth. So it's very simple and very effective. So that's something you might be interested in trying. So yeah, boar bristle, hairbrush, 7-star needle tapping. I can put some links in the description. Silk scrunchies, all of these links as well will be on my Substack. And then on top of that, you're going to want to obviously, if you've got PCOS, you're going to be wanting to address the root of this. So something you can start, which isn't going to get to the root, but it's definitely going to calm down androgens, is drinking spearmint tea. Now, this is really a big game changer because it drops the androgens quite quickly. And it's also a delicious tea. It can't be peppermint, it has to be spearmint, okay? Just to be very clear. And then on top of that, going deeper into PCOS, we're going to have to be looking at things like your blood sugar, insulin. That's the biggest driver behind PCOS. Why is your body spiking blood sugar? What's going on with your insulin? Why is that then turning off ovulation from the androgens being high? What's going on there? So there's herbs that we can use to, or utilize, don't really like to say use, but utilize the herbal medicine to support our body in getting back into balance and healing from things like PCOS or PMOS now. Looking at our diet and our lifestyle and our infradian rhythm, and are we living in a rhythm with our cycle and our hormones? How can we lower our androgens naturally? Is our cortisol really high? There's a whole thing to look at, which I look at with my clients. So that's really important for addressing the root of that. And it also, it all starts with diet and lifestyle. It all starts with nutrition. And as I said at the beginning, Ayurveda and Chinese medicine always talk about the hair being an extension of the nervous system. So I really imagine you've got the spine and you have all of the nerves coming off of the spine and down from the brain, but then it's literally like nerves coming through the head and down and out, and that's literally your hair is nerves, which sounds very strange, but it's kind of a more of a visual way you can understand that. You can see someone who's got thick, long hair, and they're definitely going to have more of a regulated nervous system. So these are my kind of top tips for getting started that cost pretty much nothing. Like eggs are so cheap. I buy like a big tray of 30 from the local farm, which cost me £11. I buy olive oil in bulk anyway, and I have many bottles of apple cider vinegar because I use it in the kitchen for many different things, whether it's preserving, whether it's for dressings. Yeah, cleaning, I tend to use more white vinegar, but if I didn't have any white vinegar, I'd use apple cider vinegar. You can use it for everything. So what I love is having things in the house that are not just like for one single use, they're for multiple purposes. So having eggs, vinegar and olive oil around in the house is brilliant. And then also the cornstarch. So stop buying dry shampoo. You really don't need to. Cornstarch is a natural dry shampoo. I just pour a little bit onto my palm of my hand, rub it together and just dab it all through the roots. Now I've got blonde hair, so personally it doesn't show up because it's white. I have a friend who's got dark brown hair and she just uses cornstarch, but if you wanted to, I have another friend, she puts a little bit of cacao in it to make it a bit more browny so it's not super white. I find what I do, days, for example, I haven't washed my hair now for about 10 days and it's starting to be a little bit more oily in the top, but this morning I just put through a bit of cornstarch and just dabbed it all with my hair, flipped my hair upside down, massaged it into the roots, brushed it all, and then I also make a kind of hair tea. So I make a normal tea with, when I say normal tea, it's like a normal tea for me. So this tea was cumin, coriander and fennel. I also put a sprig of rosemary in there, put some chamomile because I like to use chamomile in the summer, which kind of helps to just lighten it a little bit. Put a bit of olive oil, lemon, salt. It's just like a hair tea. Actually, I should put this on my Substack as well so you've got that all written down. A hair tea, a tea hair. It's so nice. And I put it in a spray bottle and I just spray it all over my hair every couple of days, probably, just for a little refresh. And it also takes the kink out of my hair if I've been wearing it in a ponytail or a plait, and it just refreshes my hair, gives it that medicine from the herbs. It's almost like a kind of a gentle, quick wash without actually getting my whole hair wet. And then it just gives it that little curl and it looks like I kind of just got out of a shower and my hair's dried off a little bit, that kind of natural hair dry look, which I love. So, and that's really it. So I will keep you updated on the egg hair washing. So far it's been absolutely brilliant. My hair has grown about 4 inches in the last few months, which is really fast. I've got all hair growth coming through where my receding hairline once was, all baby hair. The ends aren't breaking, hardly any split ends now. I did trim them off and I have seen them grow. My hair's grown because it's not been breaking off essentially. Loving all of these different tools and especially loving the boar bristle brush, my nightly routine in my gown. It's been something just very nourishing for the soul, you know, just returning to a quiet moment for self, brushing hair and seeing it instead of being this thing I have to do for hair growth. I've turned it into something that feels like I can't wait to get my boar bristle brush out and plait my hair and put a silk scrunchie in. I've even thought about getting a silk bonnet. I mean, who am I becoming? I don't know. So I'll leave it there, my loves. Thank you so much for tuning into this. And I'm hoping I've inspired you to try something new. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put anything in the comments or reach out to me over on Instagram. I'd love to have a chat. If you have any other tips you want to share, things that might have worked for you that maybe I've missed out, yeah, please share. I would love to hear from you. All right. Thank you so much. And I will see you in the next episode. Lots of love. Bye.